there. Welcome. If you've ever wondered how your mind shapes your world, well, you're definitely in the right place. This is the nature of personal reality.
Hey, yeah, today we're really diving deep, taking a look at some fascinating material from a book called The Essence of Awareness and the Self-Healing System.
Right.
It's a it's a pretty profound exploration of consciousness, our belief systems, and, how our personal reality actually works, the
Yeah.
mechanics of it.
And the core idea, the thing that really grabs you right away, is this concept. Your life is like your most intimate artwork, always in progress.
Hmm.
And your body, the book calls it a living statue, a sculpture that you, your inner self, are constantly shaping, refining, with every thought, every belief.
Yeah, it really challenges how we think about our physical selves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The sources basically say that the body structure, its qualities, even its health,
Hmm.
it's all directed by our thoughts.
Okay.
And this creativity, it doesn't just come from the everyday mind, but from what they call the inner self,
Mm.
the soul, essentially.
Okay, let's pause there because those terms feel really important, especially for later when we talk about stability and stuff. So the ego, our daily manager, versus this deeper inner self, the sculptor, what's that relationship?
Good question. So the inner self is seen as the source, the wellspring of all that creative energy. But here's the really interesting part, the kicker. The inner self isn't ever fully in the body.
I'm fully...
No, a part of you, of that inner self, always stays transcendent, kind of unexpressed potential, fundamentally free.
Yeah.
And it's that part that holds the blueprint, the ability to create the next version of your living statue.
Ah, okay. So that's the reserve tank of creativity.
Exactly. And the ego, that's more like the management system.
Yeah.
It deals with the current physical setup, interacts with the world based on the commands it gets from your conscious beliefs.
Got it. Inner self is the artist, ego as the, let's say, site manager working off the current plans. It's a great analogy. But how does the thought actually, move the clay? How does a belief become biology? Is it just stress causing a headache, or is it more direct?
It's described as much more direct. A really profound mechanism, actually. These mental association processes, they run right through the brain and connect to tiny, subtle behaviors inside your cells.
Outside the cells.
Yeah. It's presented as this immediate, continuous feedback loop, highly ordered. So if you change a fundamental thought, a core belief about yourself,
Like a command.
exactly like a deep command, changes start happening in the cells instantly. The energy flowing into your body, the stuff that structures it for health or, well, for illness,
Hmm.
it's all dictated by your consciousness, where it's focused, what it believes.
Okay, but hang on. If the body is that responsive, this sort of self-sculpting machine, why do people who seem genuinely positive, who have good intentions, still get sick? What's going on unconsciously that might override that?
Right, and that's the critical distinction the sources make. It's not just about surface wishes or positive affirmations, though those can help. It's about the foundational beliefs,
The really deep-seated stuff.
the deep stuff, the assumptions you hold about yourself, about the world. If, at a foundational level, you believe you're unworthy, or that the world's just inherently dangerous, well, the unconscious mind, which is the powerhouse here,
The engine driving it all.
right, it just faithfully executes those commands. It brings those beliefs into physical existence. So the practical application is huge. Understanding and adjusting your conscious mind, those core beliefs, actually activates your deepest self-healing. You're hitting the root cause, not just masking symptoms.
Which makes you wonder, what does a truly healthy state look like then, if it's based on this inner flow?
Well, the sources talk about natural states of grace. These are moments, maybe fleeting, maybe longer, of peace, satisfaction, where you feel really connected, united with everything, states of natural awareness.
And these aren't necessarily like peak spiritual experiences you have to work years for.
No, that's the key point. They emphasize these are natural human talents. They can just happen spontaneously. No formal practice needed, though practices can help cultivate them, of course.
So what happens in the body, biologically, when we hit one of those states, even just for a moment?
It's fascinating. It acts like this massive trigger for cellular memory, that peaceful, unified feeling. It apparently activates the memory of all your past happy experiences kind of all at once.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And this positive flood activates deeper cellular levels, giving this immediate boost to your overall structure, your health. Even if you're still working through some of those tricky underlying beliefs, it's like a natural reset.
That inherent ability to self-correct, that natural reset, it ties right into the story the sources tell, doesn't it? The seeker's story, this young doctor's assistant searching everywhere for truth.
Oh, yeah. That's a really compelling anecdote. He's sort of the classic example of someone with deep spiritual seeking, but fundamentally lacking trust in his own inner system.
Right. He went from an Indian guru demanding total obedience.
Completely flipped to Western medicine, hoping science had, a chemical shortcut. He was desperate for something external to force open the doors of truth inside him.
And this is where the source material gets really pointed, even controversial.
Hmm.
It strongly condemns heavy-dose chemical interventions, specifically calls out things like LSD.
Yeah, it draws a sharp line. It distinguishes those heavy synthetics from, say, natural things like marijuana or peyote, used traditionally in small ritual amounts. But the heavy chemical path, it calls it an unnatural crazy state. Flat out.
An unnatural, crazy state. That's strong language. Why such a harsh critique?
Because, from this perspective, those heavy doses aren't seen as tools for expansion. They're seen as weapons. Weapons aimed directly at the fundamental structure of consciousness itself.
A weapon.
Yeah, an attack on the stability of your inner systems.
Okay, let's try to ground that. Attacking the structure of consciousness, what does that mean in practice? Is it like trying to rewrite your computer's operating system while it's running full tilt?
That's actually a really good analogy. And the outcome, according to the sources, is potentially devastating. They call it a psychic massacre.
Yeah.
Because the heavy dose just blows past the natural, gradual pace of psychological growth. It forces the ego, remember, the necessary manager for dealing with the physical world. It forces it to face its own death way too soon, prematurely.
So the manager gets wiped out before the rest of the system, the deeper self, is ready or able to stabilize whatever new awareness comes through.
Exactly. The old self, the one that grew up with the body, that built up a functional understanding of physical reality over time, it gets chemically obliterated. And a new self might emerge from that destruction, but it's described as inherently unstable.
Unstable how?
It lacks that foundational trust, that familiarity with the material world, the old ego, painstakingly developed. So this can show up as intense anxiety, maybe an inability to relate to normal life, new psychological issues cropping up because the core management system is broken or severely damaged.
That sounds incredibly disorienting. So the danger lies in the forced nature of it. The transformation isn't gradual, which is maybe how the body and mind are meant to handle big shifts.
Precisely. The sources really emphasize that natural change involves this continuous, gradual cycle. Cellular change linked to the rhythms of mind and body. Chemical force, they say, blasts all aspects of cellular memory open simultaneously. It just completely overwhelms the system's ability to integrate it safely.
Okay, so if those external forced chemical paths are potentially so dangerous to our stability, what are the better ways? What are the body's own natural healing systems that are constantly at work? This brings us back to that inherent capacity you mentioned.
Absolutely. And here, the sources put a massive emphasis on one particular asset, more than anything else: dreams.
Dreams.
Yeah, described as maybe our most useful asset. A constant, self-regulating therapy cycle. The essential bridge between our inner and outer worlds.
Let's dig into dreams as therapy. The description of nightmares was really striking. Even terrifying ones are compared to self-regulating electroshock therapy.
It sounds intense, but the key there is self-regulating. Your own inner self is the therapist, and it knows exactly how much intensity you can handle for genuine benefit. The nightmare forces your consciousness to confront really charged, maybe repressed stuff.
But safely.
Right, within the safe trial run framework of sleep. And that powerful experience actually releases deep tension, maybe chemical overloads that could otherwise cause physical problems if they stayed stuck.
So the scary dream could actually be reducing a kind of chemical toxicity.
That's exactly the idea. Dreams are constantly working to adjust your body's chemical balance. It's not just about symbols and insights, though they offer those too. They're physically managing things like stress hormones or providing peaceful breaks when the system's overloaded.
And they help solve problems too, like running simulations.
Yeah, like a trial framework, testing out actions, emotional responses, seeing how things play out before you have to do it for real in the waking world. It's incredibly sophisticated.
And besides sleep and dreams, the sources mention other natural ways to induce awareness, right? Like art and music.
Oh, absolutely. Music gets huge praise, seen as maybe the best external expression of that life-giving inner voice or rhythm. It literally activates cells, helps unify consciousness because it resonates with something deep inside us.
And art. Creating it.
Any kind of creative immersion, painting, writing, sculpting, whatever, is seen as highly therapeutic. Why? Because it's this direct mix of conscious intention and unconscious flow. You're tapping into that deeper stream. It's a constant source of renewal, mentally and even structurally.
That idea of flow is key. But there was a warning attached too, wasn't there? About how we interpret things, especially dreams or even our own art.
Yes, a really important one. The danger of standardized interpretations. Think of an art critic, right? They
Yeah.
might apply standard psychological theories or maybe occult symbols, religious meanings to a painting.
And completely miss what the artist actually intended.
Exactly. They miss the artist's unique private language. The sources argue that when you do the same with your dreams, applying generic dream dictionary meanings or rigid psychological frameworks, you risk blocking the dream's true private message, the specific medicine your inner self cooked up just for you.
So the self-therapy, the inner message, it only really lands if we trust that the symbols and the feeling are deeply personal. Which brings us back to trust again.
It really does. We keep circling back to that central idea. Your conscious beliefs are the commands. They direct the flow of the unconscious
In the unconscious, it takes those commands, those beliefs.
and diligently brings them into material existence. You might not see the inner workings, the mechanisms invisible, but the results. Your health, your body, your experience of reality, those are undeniably visible, tangible.
And the stability of our consciousness, our sense of self, is always being tested, isn't it? Mostly because we don't trust ourselves.
That seems to be the core challenge identified. If you don't trust your natural self, your built-in systems, you start looking for external cures, external authorities. If you believe your conscious mind just isn't capable of knowing deeper truths on its own.
Then you seek ways to force it. Gurus, chemicals, whatever promises a shortcut.
Exactly. That search for an outside fix always seems rooted in a lack of faith in the self's own, frankly, superior inherent system.
Can you give us one more concrete everyday example? How a common belief, maybe one we don't even question, chemically sculpts that living statue.
Sure, a really relatable one is aging. Think about common cultural beliefs around aging. We're often programmed, to believe that things like hearing loss or reduced mobility have to come with getting older. It's just what
Right,
happens.
it feels inevitable.
But if you internalize that belief, accept it as an absolute truth, your belief system issues the command to the unconscious.
Mm.
And your body, being utterly faithful, will start to chemically alter itself, its pathways, its tissues,
Yeah.
to match that image of decline you've accepted. The body is always mirroring what you fundamentally believe about yourself, right here, right now, in this moment.
That is the ultimate feedback loop, isn't it? So the most powerful, the most renewing insight we can have, according to this material, is just realizing we are the director, the sculptor, the artist.
Mhm.
That realization gives you immediate choice. It means you're never just a victim of circumstance or locked into some fixed biological destiny.
That capacity for conscious choice is the core creative power. It lets you shape a varied, rich experience using these immense creative energies that are always flowing through you, whether you realize it or not.
Okay, so let's try to wrap up the key takeaways from this deep dive. First, this powerful idea. Your body is a living work of art, a constantly evolving statue sculpted by your deepest beliefs.
Second, your natural healing systems, especially dreams, are incredibly potent, constantly working for your balance and health, and frankly, superior to forced interventions.
And third, trying to force shortcuts, particularly with heavy chemicals, can seriously destabilize consciousness.
Yeah.
It attacks the very structure of the self by bypassing natural processes.
Yeah, it can lead to real psychological instability because that natural integration process is violently disrupted. Which leaves us, I think, with a final thought really centered on self-trust.
Mm.
The sources suggest this continuous cycle, life, death, rebirth, it happens naturally within us all the time, like cells renewing in the body. When you learn to trust that natural, elegant process, trust the incredible flexibility of your own consciousness.
You don't need to fear it or attack it.
Exactly. You no longer need to fear or attack the self. Instead, you can learn to dance with the rhythm, the powerful natural rhythm of your own being.
A powerful place to end. Maybe start today just by noticing the conscious beliefs, the assumptions that might be sculpting your own living statue. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.